Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speak Like a Local. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Mike. We are so happy you're here with us today, wherever you are in the world, whether you're commuting, taking a walk, or just relaxing at home.
Thanks for spending some time with us. So, Mike, can I start with a small confession?
Of course. I feel like those always lead to interesting conversations.
This morning, I woke up feeling off. Not sick, exactly. Just slow, heavy, like my body didn't want to cooperate.
Ah, I know that feeling very well.
It was one of those mornings where even getting out of bed felt like work. Have you ever had that?
All the time. And there's actually a really good word for that feeling. When your body feels slow, tired, and unmotivated, we often say we feel sluggish.
Sluggish. Yes, that's exactly it. I felt sluggish from the moment I opened my eyes.
Let me guess. You stayed up late last night?
I did, and I was on my phone longer than I want to admit.
That explains it. I do the same thing. I'll tell myself just 5 more minutes, and suddenly it's midnight.
And then the next morning, we wonder why we feel terrible.
Exactly. It's funny because we usually know what the problem is.
That's the frustrating part. We know what we should do, but doing it is another story.
Right. We all know we should sleep more, drink more water, move our bodies a bit. But knowing and doing are very different things.
Completely different. And that's actually what we want to talk about today.
Yes, today's topic is healthy habits, but not the perfect version. Not the version you see online where someone wakes up at 5 a.m., meditates for an hour, runs 10 kilometers, and drinks a green smoothie.
Exactly. We're talking about real healthy habits, the kind that real people try to build while living normal, busy lives.
Because honestly, most of us are just doing our best.
And sometimes we feel like we're failing at being healthy.
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've told myself, okay, this is it. I'm going to change everything.
Let me guess. New year, big plans?
Every time. I'll decide I'm going to eat perfectly, exercise every day, go to bed early, and never look at my phone too much again.
That sounds very ambitious.
Too ambitious. Because after a week or two, it all falls apart.
Sometimes even sooner.
Yes. And then I feel so disappointed in myself.
That's such a common experience, and I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that. We often try to change our entire lifestyle all at once.
And that's a lot of pressure.
It really is. When you try to fix everything at the same time, it becomes overwhelming.
And when it feels overwhelming, we tend to give up.
Exactly. It turns into this idea of, if I can't do it perfectly, why do it at all?
That kind of thinking is very common. It's like, I missed one day, so I failed.
But that's not how habits really work.
No, and that's why today we want to focus on small, realistic habits.
The kind of habits you can actually stick to.
And when we say stick to something, we mean continue doing it regularly, even when it's not exciting.
Especially when it's not exciting.
Because healthy habits are often boring.
Very boring, but they're powerful.
And they don't need to be dramatic to make a difference. So instead of talking about perfection, we want to talk about progress.
Small changes. Simple choices.
Things that fit into real life.
And we'll be honest, too. We don't do all of these things perfectly.
Not even close.
We're learning and experimenting, just like everyone else.
And we want this conversation to feel supportive, not stressful.
Yes, no pressure. Just ideas you can think about and maybe try.
So if you're listening right now and thinking, I really want to be healthier, but I don't know where to start, you are in the right place.
And if you're listening and thinking, I've tried before and it didn't work, that's okay too.
That doesn't mean you failed.
It just means you're human.
Exactly. So let's take this one step at a time and start with something very simple.
Something that happens to all of us every single day.
The beginning of the day?
Mornings.
Yes, let's start there.
So let's talk about mornings. Mike, what does your usual morning look like?
Honestly, my alarm goes off, and the very first thing I do is reach for my phone.
Same here. It's almost automatic. My eyes aren't even fully open yet, and my hand is already looking for it.
Exactly. And then I tell myself I'm just going to check one thing.
One message, one notification,
And suddenly 15 or 20 minutes are gone.
and you're still in bed.
Still in bed, scrolling, half awake.
Do you notice how that makes you feel?
Yes. I usually feel more anxious. Like my brain is already busy before the day's even started.
That's such a good way to put it. The day hasn't begun, but your mind is already running.
Emails, news, messages. It's a lot.
I've noticed that when I do that, I feel behind all day.
Me too. It's like I start the day reacting instead of choosing.
So, did you ever try to change that habit?
I did, but not in a big way. I didn't say no phone ever in the morning.
That sounds unrealistic.
Exactly. Instead, I tried something very small.
What did you do?
I stopped keeping my phone next to my bed.
Really? Where do you keep it now?
In the kitchen. Still in the apartment, just not within arm's reach.
That already sounds like a big change.
It felt strange at first. I worried I wouldn't hear my alarm.
Did you?
No. I bought a simple alarm clock. Nothing fancy.
One that only does one job.
Exactly. It just rings. No notifications.
And how did that change your mornings?
When I wake up now, there's nothing to grab. So I just lie there for a moment.
That pause sounds important.
It is. I stretch a little. I notice how my body feels, instead of immediately filling my head with information.
And then what?
I get up and go to the kitchen.
And that's where the water comes in, right?
Yes. The first thing I do is drink a glass of water.
I've heard that's a good habit, but I always forget.
I used to forget too, but once I connected it to my morning routine, it became easier.
Why is drinking water in the morning helpful?
Your body gets dehydrated while you sleep, so water helps wake everything up.
That makes sense.
You haven't had anything to drink for hours. Exactly. And it's such a simple thing, but it really affects how I feel.
You know, water is actually one habit I've improved a lot recently.
Really? That's great.
A few years ago, I realized I barely drank any water during the day.
What were you drinking instead?
Mostly coffee, 1 cup in the morning, sometimes another in the afternoon, and not much else.
And not much else?
Not much else. And I always felt tired and sluggish.
That word again.
Yes, and I used to get headaches all the time.
Did you know it was because of the water?
Not at first. I thought it was stress or lack of sleep.
So what changed?
Someone suggested I try drinking more water for just 1 week.
Just 1 week? That feels manageable.
That's why I agreed. I thought, okay, it's only a week.
What did you do differently?
I bought a large water bottle and kept it on my desk.
So you could see it all the time.
Exactly. And I made a very simple rule.
What was the rule?
Finish the bottle by lunchtime, then refill it and try to finish it again by the end of the day.
No complicated tracking. Just 2 goals.
Yes, and honestly, the difference surprised me.
In what way?
I had more energy, fewer headaches. I felt more alert.
That's a big change for something so simple.
It really was. And I didn't have to buy anything expensive.
Just water and a bottle.
Exactly. That's what I love about habits like this. They're small, but they add up.
And they don't require motivation every day.
Right. Once it becomes part of your routine, you don't think about it as much.
You just do it.
Exactly. And that's the key with habits, making them easy.
Especially in the morning when we don't have much energy yet.
Mornings are not the time for big decisions.
So true. The simpler, the better. So we've talked about phones in the morning and drinking water.
two small changes that can make a big difference.
And neither of them is about being perfect, just about being a little more intentional.
And starting the day in a calmer way, which sets the tone for everything else.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about mornings and water. Now let's move into something that I personally struggle with.
Let me guess. Exercise?
Yes, exactly. Just hearing the word makes me feel tired.
You're not alone. A lot of people feel that way.
For me, exercise feels overwhelming. I think of gyms, long workouts, sweating for hours.
And that image alone can stop you before you even start.
Exactly. I think I don't have time for that. And then I do nothing.
That's such a common trap. We imagine exercise has to be intense to count.
Where did that idea even come from?
I think social media has a lot to do with it. We see people running marathons or lifting heavy weights.
And we compare ourselves to that.
Right. But that's not the only way to move your body.
So, what do you think exercise really means?
For me, it just means movement. Any kind of movement.
That already sounds less scary.
It should. Some of the healthiest people I know don't go to the gym at all.
Really?
Yes. They just move throughout their day.
Like, how?
Simple things. Taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Walking instead of driving when possible.
I've actually started doing that. I live on the 3rd floor, and I've been taking the stairs.
That's great. That absolutely counts.
Sometimes I think, it's only 3 floors. Is this even doing anything?
It adds up. You might not notice it right away, but over time it matters.
I guess if you do it every day, it becomes something.
Exactly. Habits work quietly.
I like that idea. Quiet progress.
And here's another thing I do. When I go to the store, I park a little farther away, just to get more steps in.
Yes, just a few extra minutes of walking.
That feels very doable.
That's the goal. Doable is better than impressive.
What about planned exercise, though? Do you ever set aside time for that?
I do, but I keep it short. Usually about 20 minutes.
Only 20 minutes?
Yes, I squeeze it in most mornings.
Squeeze it in, meaning you fit it into a busy schedule.
Exactly. It's not perfect, but it works.
What do you do in those 20 minutes?
Nothing complicated. Some stretching, a few push-ups. Sometimes I jog around the block.
That's it?
That's it.
I always thought exercise had to be at least an hour to matter.
That's a very common belief, but it's not true.
So 20 minutes is enough?
20 minutes is infinitely better than 0.
When you say it like that, it feels silly to argue.
Sometimes we talk ourselves out of things for no good reason.
True. And when exercise feels smaller, it feels possible.
Exactly. The goal is consistency, not intensity.
You know what I've started doing recently?
What's that?
Walking while I'm on phone calls.
Walking meetings.
Yes, if I'm talking to a friend or a colleague and I don't need a screen, I walk.
That's such a smart idea.
It doesn't even feel like exercise, but I'm moving.
And that's often the best kind. I also feel like I think better when I walk.
Same here. My thoughts feel clearer.
It's interesting how movement affects the mind.
It really does. Even light movement can change your mood.
So maybe exercise doesn't have to be this big, stressful thing.
Exactly. It can be woven into your day.
Stairs, short walks, a few minutes here and there.
And when you stop aiming for perfect, it's easier to keep going.
That feels like an important lesson, especially for people who feel intimidated by fitness.
So, if someone listening thinks, I hate exercise, what would you say?
I'd say you probably don't hate movement. You just hate pressure.
That's a really good way to put it.
Remove the pressure and see what feels natural.
And start small. Always start small.
Okay, so we've talked about mornings, water, and movement. Now, I think it's time to talk about something that affects all of those things.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Our phones.
Yes, the elephant in the room.
Exactly. Screen time, technology, all of it.
This is probably my biggest struggle when it comes to healthy habits.
Same here. Our phones are everywhere. We need them for work, for staying in touch with people, for entertainment.
And because we need them, it's hard to know where to draw the line.
Right. You tell yourself, I'll just check one thing.
And then you look up and half an hour's gone.
Or more.
And often, I don't even enjoy it.
Yes, I feel the same way. I'm not relaxed or happy, I'm just scrolling.
Almost on autopilot.
Exactly. And that's not an accident. These apps are designed to keep our attention.
So, how do we deal with that?
For me, the key word is boundaries.
Boundaries with your phone?
Yes, not no phone at all, but clear limits.
What kind of limits?
One big one for me is during meals.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. I used to scroll while eating all the time,
Me too. Especially at dinner.
and I realized something strange.
What was it?
I wasn't really tasting my food.
That's so true.
I was eating, but I wasn't present, just putting food in my mouth without paying attention.
Exactly. And that felt wrong to me.
So, what did you change?
I started leaving my phone in another room during meals.
That sounds simple, but also uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable at first.
Like, what do you even do instead?
Yes. I didn't know where to look or what to do with my hands.
That feeling of awkward silence.
Exactly. But after a while, something interesting happened.
What happened?
I started enjoying my food more.
Really?
Yes. I noticed flavors. I ate more slowly, and I probably felt more satisfied.
Definitely. And meals felt calmer.
That's such a small change, but it affects the whole experience.
It really does. Another time I struggle with phone boundaries is in the evening, before bed.
Yes. That's when I scroll the most.
Same here. It's like my brain doesn't want the day to end, or it wants distraction.
That too. But that's where sleep starts to suffer.
Sleep is such a big part of health.
It really is. And phones make it harder. Do you know about blue light?
Mike, yes, the light from screens can trick your brain,
It tells your brain it's still daytime.
which makes it harder to feel sleepy.
That explains a lot.
It does. And that's why I've been trying to change my evenings.
What have you been doing differently?
I try to create a wind down routine.
Wind down, meaning to slowly relax.
Exactly. About an hour before bed.
What does that look like for you?
I dim the lights, I stop checking messages.
That alone sounds challenging.
It is, but it helps.
Do you use your phone at all during that time?
As little as possible. I might listen to something calm, but no scrolling.
What do you do instead?
Light stretching. Sometimes I read a paper book.
An actual book?
An actual book.
That sounds very peaceful.
It is. And doing the same thing every night sends a signal to my body.
Like telling your body, it's time to rest.
Exactly.
My current routine is very different.
Let me guess. Phone until your eyes can't stay open?
That's painfully accurate.
At least you're honest.
I know. It's not helping me. And hearing you talk about this, it makes me want to change it.
That's the thing. When we don't sleep well, everything else gets harder.
So true. When I'm tired, I crave unhealthy food.
Same. And I don't feel like moving.
And small problems feel bigger.
Sleep affects everything. It really is the foundation.
And yet, it's often the first thing we sacrifice.
We tell ourselves we'll catch up later.
But it doesn't really work that way.
No, it doesn't. That's why boundaries with technology are so important.
Not to punish ourselves,
but to protect our energy.
and our attention.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk more about sleep, because it connects everything we've discussed so far.
It really does. I've noticed that when I don't sleep well, my whole day feels harder.
In what way?
I'm tired, obviously, but I'm also less patient.
Same here. Small things annoy me more when I'm tired.
And my habits change. I want sugary snacks, I skip movement. It's like one bad night affects so many choices the next day.
Yes, sleep is like the base that everything else stands on.
And when that base is weak, everything feels unstable.
That's a good way to describe it. But sleep is also something many people struggle with.
Especially now, with screens everywhere, busy schedules, and stress.
You mentioned your wind-down routine earlier. Do you always follow it?
Not always. Some nights go better than others.
I really appreciate that honesty.
I think that's important. Healthy habits aren't about doing things perfectly every day.
They're about patterns over time.
Yes, what you do most days matters more than what you do once in a while. That takes a lot of pressure off. It does, and it helps you stay patient with yourself.
Patience is something people forget when trying to change habits.
True, we want results quickly,
But real change is slow.
and often quiet.
You don't notice it right away.
But over weeks and months, it adds up.
That reminds me of something I heard once.
Mike, what's that?
It's like steering a ship. If you change direction just a little, you won't notice immediately. But over a long distance, you end up somewhere completely different.
Yes, that's exactly how small habits work.
And unhealthy habits work the same way, just in the opposite direction.
Like staying up late once in a while isn't a problem, but doing it every night for months can quietly affect your health.
Or drinking soda occasionally versus every day.
It's about repetition.
Patterns, not moments. That's why I think it's dangerous to think in extremes. You mean all or nothing thinking?
Yes, when people say, I missed one day, so I failed.
That mindset stops progress.
It really does. One imperfect day doesn't erase everything.
I wish more people understood that.
Me too. Health is flexible. It needs to fit real life. And real life includes stress, busy days, and mistakes.
So if someone has a bad night of sleep, what should they do?
First, don't panic.
That's good advice.
One bad night happens. Focus on the next night. Get back to your routine, or even part of your routine.
Because something is better than nothing.
Always.
I also think it helps to just listen to your body.
Yes, body awareness is so important.
Like noticing how coffee affects your sleep.
I learned that the hard way.
Me too. If I drink coffee late in the afternoon, I know I'll struggle at night.
And sometimes I still do it.
Same. But at least it's a conscious choice.
That's the difference. Choosing versus acting without thinking.
Life isn't about perfect health rules. It's about balance.
And enjoying your life.
Health should support your life, not control it. That feels like a really good way to think about it.
Let's bring everything together. We've talked a lot today.
Mornings, water, movement, phone, sleep.
And that can sound like a long list.
Which is why I want to say something very clearly.
You do not need to change all of these things at once.
Please don't try to do that.
Pick one thing, just one.
Something that feels small and realistic for you.
Maybe it's drinking more water.
Or leaving your phone out of the bedroom.
Or taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
The size of the habit matters less than your ability to repeat it.
That's the key, repeating it.
Once something feels normal, you can add another small change.
That's how habits become sustainable.
I think many people fail because they aim for perfection.
And perfection isn't the goal.
Progress is.
If you drink one more glass of water today than yesterday, that's progress.
If you take a 10-minute walk when you normally wouldn't, that matters.
These small choices shape your days.
In your days, shape your life.
I love that. So if you could give our listeners one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say don't wait for motivation.
That's an important one.
Motivation comes and goes. It's unreliable.
So what should people focus on instead?
Making things easy, removing barriers.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle where you can see it.
If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before.
Make the healthy choice the easy choice.
And make the unhealthy choice slightly harder.
Like keeping your phone in another room at night.
You could still go get it, but that extra step gives you time to think.
And often you realize you don't actually need it.
Most of the time, yes.
My advice would be kind to yourself.
That's huge.
Change takes time. There will be setbacks. Some days you'll skip a habit or stay up too late or eat something you didn't plan to.
And that's okay.
One imperfect day doesn't cancel your effort.
Health isn't all or nothing.
It's about what you do most of the time, not what you do occasionally.
Balance matters, and balance takes practice.
You learn it by paying attention, listening to your body, and adjusting when needed.
Life is meant to be lived, not controlled by rules.
Health should help you live better, not add stress.
Before we end, I want to leave our listeners with a small challenge.
Oh, I love this part.
Pick one habit we talked about today. Just one. Try it for 1 week.
Not forever, just 1 week. Notice how it feels. Notice any small changes.
And then decide if you want to keep it.
No pressure.
And no need to tell anyone. This is just for you.
A quiet promise to yourself.
And if you do want to share, we would love to hear from you. Your comments truly matter to us.
They inspire future conversations.
All right, I think that's a beautiful place to stop.
I agree. Thank you so much for listening to Speak Like a Local.
Keep practicing your English.
And take care of yourself, one small habit at a time.
See you in the next episode.
Bye for now, everyone.